Quote, "Now listen, if you ever believed a depressive wants to be happy, you are wrong. They couldn't care less about the luxury of happiness. The only thing that they want is to feel an absence of pain. To escape a mind on fire, where thoughts blaze and smoke for gold possessions lost to arson. To be normal." This is a quote by Matt Haig in the book Reasons to Stay Alive. This is the book that I selected to do my assignment on for my self-improvement presentation. The purpose of this book, this story, was just to see the reality of living with this disease. Throughout the entirety of the book, Matt went through his battle with the disease, shared his experiences and stories and how he was able to deal with and fight off his illness. As far as the credibility statement in this assignment, the two concepts from our class that I felt best related to this project were the concept of emotion and interpersonal conflict. I thought that emotion tied in very well to this topic due to the fact that this disease can often send your emotions through the ringer. Makes it very hard to have stable and controlled emotions. And interpersonal conflict I felt really well fit in with this too, just due to the fact that it's dealing with a lot of interpersonal conflict in your own mind. Moving along to the preview, the book used for this speech, Reasons to Stay Alive by Matt Haig, looks into the mind of a man suffering from depression as he walks you through his fight against this disease. I will begin by breaking down the tips and concepts that I've learned from this book, and I will wrap up the end of the presentation with the ways that I've incorporated these texts and techniques into my day-to-day life. Now that we have had a preview of what this speech will entail, we'll now move on to the first concept I've learned from this book. The first concept that I've learned from this book are the reasons to stay alive. The author went on and listed maybe 10 to 15 reasons why he believed that he should have stayed alive, and why he was able to fight off the disease to the best of his power. The first one that Matt listed in the book is that people do understand what you're going through. One of the symptoms of depression is thinking that no one else has ever understood what the pain you're going through is like, or no one else has ever felt the way that you do. It's a symptom of the disease to think that you're completely alone in this matter, and it's not just the matter of thinking that you're completely alone as in not surrounded by people. It also affects you in the way of thinking that no one else has ever felt the way that you do. It's very hard for a depressive person to think that other people have experienced similar things to them. The one thing people need to understand is that people have been through this, other people have survived it, and so can you. Another big reason I was given in the story a lot was that things are not going to get worse than the lowest point. If at any point you were contemplating suicide or killing yourself, that is the lowest possible point you can be. There's nowhere that you can go besides up. Things are not going to get worse. The only way that things can go is if they were to get better. The feeling that everything is just going to get worse is simply just a symptom of the disease. Like I stated before, people often think that they are never going to recover and never going to get better. This is simply just a symptom of the disease and something that you need to overcome. So now that we have talked about the first tip that I've learned from this book, we will slowly transition onto the next tip that I've learned. The one thing that the author did talk about throughout the entirety of the book was how he was able to deal with this disease was by surrounding himself with people who cared about him. In the story, he often used his girlfriend and his family. Throughout the entirety of the book, his girlfriend was a very prevalent character. She was in almost every part of the book. He said many times in many different ways that the love that he had for her is what kept him going throughout the entirety of this process. He said that just having her around helped with his anxiety, helped ease the pain of the depression. Just all overall, having her around really helped him through this. And as looking into my own life, going through any types of anxiety or depression or any type of episode like that, my family, my friends, girlfriend, any people like that in my life have all been massive support systems to me. I definitely can see how her being around for Matt during this entirety of the book was so beneficial to him, because that's one of the most important things that I've noticed in my life, is that when you surround yourself with people who care about you, you're a lot less likely to have a dip in your mental health. The more people you can surround yourself that care about you, the better you will be feeling about yourself. And now that we have taken a little look into the third lesson, We will now take a look at the third lesson that this book has taught me, which is your weapons against depression. So the first weapon that was talked about in the book was just words can just sometimes set you free. This just meaning that the author often said that talking was the best way to relieve his pain. This may not be the case for everyone. I do know that it works for me. It works for many other people. That's why a lot of people go see therapists. Just talking through your mental health issues is often the best way to help your overall mental health. Another tip that he said in here was adding memories to your depression bank. This meaning reminding yourself of a memory of a time you had a previous depressive episode. You're thinking, oh, this is the lowest I've been, this is the lowest I'm gonna go. You just remember, I've been here, I've been through, I survived then, I'm gonna survive now. And the last weapon that he listed was setting goals and challenging yourself. He told a little story in the book about how there was a corner store maybe 2-3 blocks from his house that once his depressive episodes kicked in, he was physically unable to go. He just couldn't do it. I mean, this is a store that he'd been going to for the entirety of his life. And the disease was affecting him so badly that he couldn't even leave his bed to go to the corner store. So challenging yourself and setting goals and trying to do things that you don't think that you can do or things that are outside of your comfort zone is truly what can help you through these things. Just putting yourself out there and really trying to change your environment as best as you can. Just to begin to wrap this up, we're going to talk about how I've incorporated some of these concepts and ideas into my day-to-day life. Just to begin, the first one I have on here is talking about my feelings, being more open about my mental health with people, having genuine conversations with friends, trusted people can really have an impact on your mental health. Another one that I've tried to implement into my everyday life is putting myself outside of my comfort zone. This would include things such as things I've done for clubs, running for office or officer positions in different clubs, fraternities, club sports clubs, just things such as that. And finally, the biggest impact that I have seen is just surrounding myself with good people, my friends, my family, removing any people from my life who weren't good for my mental health. I think that in my opinion, that is the most important thing to take from this whole project, is just surrounding yourself with people who truly care about you is the best way to succeed. All right, and just to wrap this up, I hope that this presentation has given you a little understanding of how this disease affects people. My main goal from this is to shine a light onto some issue that I think is shockingly overlooked. This is a disease, and we should treat it as such. Just to recap, this book that I did the project on is Reasons to Stay Alive by Matt Haig. The purpose of this book was just to see the reality of living with depression and share his experience and stories with the illness. Just to go over what we covered, the first section I went over was the reasons to stay alive. Second section was talking about how surrounding yourself with people who truly care about you can greatly improve your mental health. And finally, how your weapons against depression can truly make a difference in your fight. There are many different ways to deal with this disease. Reading this book showed me that there are many different ways that I never even knew about. I would like to integrate a lot of these into my day-to-day life, and I think that they could be a big help to me, just keeping my mental health in check. Thank you.